Good evening and welcome to KORERO, where we confront the issues shaping Nigerians' national interest. I am Godwin Sunday. A dramatic development on the global stage has suddenly put Nigeria in the headlines. In recent days, United States President Donald Trump warned that the United States may take military measures, including airstrikes or deploying troops, if Nigeria does not act decisively to stop what he describes as widespread killings of Christians. He also signaled moves to pause or cut U.S. aid as pressure on Abuja to act. The Nigerian government has strongly rejected the label of genocide against Christians, insisting the security challenge is complex and affects many communities. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's team and senior officials have said Nigerians welcome external help to fight terrorism, but will not accept characterization that misstate the fact on the ground. Beyond the moral and diplomatic shock, the statement has real consequences. Market and investors' confidence shattered, with warnings that talks of military intervention could harm Nigerians' investment climate and economic recovery. At the same time, analysts caution that simplified narrative of a Christian genocide risks inflaming sectarian tensions and misdirecting policy responses to a multi-factor security crisis. Tonight, we ask the hard questions. What are the legal and diplomatic limits of one nation threatening military action against another over internal security issues? That's on one hand. On the other hand, how should Nigeria respond to foreign pressures while protecting sovereignty and preserving social cohesion? The third question, how can the government address the real security gaps without allowing outside rhetorics to deepen divisions at home? Well, to help us unpack these issues, I am joined in the studio by Barrister Salifu Ogoche Usman, a public commentator and public affairs analyst. And I'm also joined online by Nick Agule, who is a public affairs analyst. They will help us today to unpack all of these issues that surrounds and borders on Nigerian security now and in the future. I will take a short break right now. When we return, we will delve into the conversation. Please go nowhere, as the conversation is just starting. Back at this point in time, let's even begin the conversation by first looking at the issue critically. Barrister, on the lips of every Nigerian right now is the drum of war. War is coming. America is bringing war to Nigeria. But help us make sense with all of this. So what is the legal implication of all of this, and is war actually coming to Nigeria?
Thank you, Mr. Godwin, for having me on this program. I think we need to contextualize what is happening at this very moment. I think what is happening is an intervention by a foreign country which is allowed under international humanitarian law. It is not a declaration. What Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, the President of the United States of America, have done by designing or redesigning Nigeria as a country of particular concern is by no means a declaration of war. Rather, it is a declaration of a status that Nigeria has enjoyed for close to a decade, and that the federal government of Nigeria has refused to take decisive action to bring the situation under control. It is by no means a declaration of war. There is no war hovering anywhere. Rather, a foreign nation and a global power at that, it's relying on the powers conferred on it under international humanitarian law and also under certain conventions at international balance, trying to intervene in a deserved situation as to protect human rights as to protect international religious freedom, which is guaranteed under international instrument. That is what the United States of America is trying to do. It is by no means a declaration of war. It is by no means an act of aggression or intended aggression, but rather it is an action taken in good faith with the intention of protecting human rights. And let me say something briefly. Under international law, state actors, international organizations have primary duties to take steps to protect lives and freedom. Where a state has failed in living up to its primary responsibility. Remember, the protection of life and preservation of property are by international charter, the United Nations Charter on Human Rights, African Charter on Human and People's Rights, protection of life and preservation of freedom and liberties are primary responsibilities of government. And once a government fails to do that under international humanitarian law, a foreign state can intervene.
All right. Let me put your thought there on hold. Let's join Dr. Nick Agule. Dr. Nick Agule, it's a delight to have you join us on KORERO this evening. All right, Dr. Nick Agule, let's get you react. Yeah, good evening, and so good to have you join us on the show. As I speak with you right now, the social media is agog. A lot of Nigerians have already started selling their properties in order to start leaving the country. But talk to us, what is the economic implication of Donald Trump's invasion threat to Nigeria?
I don't think Nigerians should sell their properties and leave. But before I say anything, I'm not a doctor. I'm a mister.
All right. So sincere apologies.
Yes, that's my title. I don't have a PhD. So back to the point, I don't think it is right for anybody, any Nigerian, to begin to sell their properties to leave Nigeria. These are the reasons. Number one, if it is for the rhetoric that is coming from the White House in terms of what Donald Trump, the president of the United States, is saying, he is not saying he's coming to wage war against Nigerians. If I hear him very well, he's saying he's coming to wage war against those who are killing Christians in Nigeria. And I can assure you that America, with their intelligence gathering, they know exactly where these guys are. They know their source of arms. They know the source of their funding. They can pinpoint exactly where they are. And if they want to take them out, they will take them out with precision. Let's not forget that there was a case, I think a couple of years ago, where an American citizen was kidnapped. I think he was kidnapped either in Chad or Niger, one of the neighboring countries to the northern border of Nigeria. And they brought him into one of the states in Nigeria. I can't remember if it was Zamfara or it was one of the states in the north, Katsina or so. And they kept him there. Unlike the Nigerian military, where the citizens are kidnapped and nothing happens, and the families have to raise money to free their citizens, the American Marines, they actually flew into Nigeria. They staged a rescue operation. They killed the bandits that were holding their citizens hostage, and they took their citizens with them. So that is the kind of thing we're talking about here. And to be honest, we have come under heavy killings in the past. Some people say, oh, what has been happening in Nigeria is not genocide and all of that. It doesn't matter. Even one life is too much to lose. And we have had situations where hundreds of lives have been lost in a day. I mean, not long ago, 200 lives were lost in Yerwata. Just imagine a small village like Yerwata, 200 people killed overnight. because the terrorists came to that town at night, and all they were doing was that they will break open the door and pour petrol into the room and set the room on fire, so that everything in the room, the man, the wife, the children, whatever that was in that room, was incinerated. And they did that from door to door to door to door. And there was no response from the Nigerian security architecture. Yet we have a full-fledged military led by a chief of defense staff, assisted by service chiefs, with general officer commandings, flag officer commandings, air officer commandings, inspector general of police, commissioners of police, civil defense of this military architecture are wearing their uniforms, going to work in Nigeria, and citizens can come under such an attack, and there is no response. These guys did all they wanted to do. Eyewitnesses, those who survived, say this thing went on for like 3 hours. And after they burnt everything they wanted to burn, we are allowed to go away. They went away scot-free. You know, so a security architecture that has a complete package. You have the National Security Advisor, you have the DIA, you have the MIA, you have the DSS, you have all of the intelligence community, whose job is to prevent such an attack from happening. Prevent the attack from happening. And then once the attack was going on, the response team that should have rushed to the village to save Nigeria was not there. Then they let these people go away. You know, so the government have shown such incompetence to protect our citizens. I don't think there's anything wrong.
Well, Nick,
for another government to come and say, no, I will come in and protect your citizens, because let me just land this point before I give way to you. Nigeria went with ECOMOG troops to Sierra Leone and Liberia. What did we go and do there? We went to save the Sierra Leoneans and the Liberians from the bandits that were killing them. So if we, Nigeria, went to do that in another country, then what is the issue now if another country says they want to come and do the same with us?
Well, Nick, let me quickly pick your thoughts right now. A lot of Nigerians have said that there have been no killings of Christians in Nigeria. That rather, the killing is not selective, is not particular to any religion. The sects, the bandits don't know Christians, they don't know Muslims. But then, Donald Trump's threat to Nigerians, even with the old invasion, tends to posit that Christians alone are being killed, Christians alone are being persecuted, Christians alone are being slaughtered in their numbers, and churches being burned. Let me get you to react to this. Can we say that Christians in Nigeria, for a fact, have taken the larger portion of the death toll by bandits and other insurgent groups?
I think the people who are bringing up the narrative that Christians are not being targeted in Nigeria, they are either living in denial, or they are either confused, or they are engaging in a mischief. Because let me break it down a bit. You have just made the correct statement by saying that bandits don't discriminate, and that is true. Because bandits are criminals. They attack for money. They want to kidnap people to earn money. They want to get people to pay taxes to them and all of that. It doesn't matter to them whether you're a Muslim or you're a Christian or you don't worship any religion, whoever you are, they just want money so that they can buy arms and drugs and everything. So that is the banditry. Don't confuse banditry with terrorism. As banditry is happening in Nigeria, so is terrorism also happening in Nigeria. And terrorists are ideological. They have a clear ideology. There are terrorists that want to Islamize Nigeria. There are terrorists that are coming directly after Christians. For instance, the people who say that Christians are not being targeted in Nigeria, what would they say about the attack that happened in Owo, in Ondo State? Owo is a sprawling city. I know the city well because I served in Ondo State. They came into Owo. Owo has a retinue of banks. It has other companies operating in Owo. There are businesses and all of that. They never went to any bank. They never went to any business. They didn't go to any rich man's house. These guys targeted the time that Christians will be at worship in the church. And they went straight to the church. They carried out the Owo massacre. And after they carried out the Owo massacre, they didn't touch any other thing in Owo. They left. Such things have happened in Benue State as well. It has happened in Plateau State, have happened in other places.
All right.
Anybody that says the Owo massacre was not Christians being targeted, perhaps need to get their heads checked.
All right.
Why would they say that?
All right. So let me return back to Barrister in the studio here, or Aguche, on some of this, the implication of all of this put together. We've seen a lot of people say that the Nigerian government is doing quite magnificently well in terms of addressing security concern across board. But when you look at the rising tension of insecurity across the country, what's your general take? Are we there yet? For United States to want to even start to talk about invading Nigeria, our military strength being able to address some of these things from time immemorial. Have we fared as a people?
Without mincing words, I would want to say categorically that Nigeria, we are not there. We are far from being there. As a nation, the Nigerian state who failed completely in living up to its primary responsibility of securing the lives of its citizens. Statistics abounds. Amnesty International, even the NBS, Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, the records are there. Between 2001 and 2025, in Plateau alone, record says by Amnesty says 53,000 Plateau citizens who've been killed by the bandits, the headers, militias, and all forms of non-state actors. The story is the same in Benue. In Zamfara, the crisis is ongoing. In Borno, the epicenter of Boko Haram insurgency, the records are there. In Yobe, the records are there. All of this put together will give you the simple answer to your question, that the Nigerian nation have not failed so well in protecting the life of its citizens. And that is the basics for America's threatened intervention.
So it's not that. So you're saying right now that it's not that Nigerians, Christians are being persecuted, or let's even bring that question back to you. Is it that Nigerian Christians are being targeted in all of this insurgency and attacks?
Yes, I think we need a sociological understanding of the ongoing crisis and insecurity in the country. We must call a spade a spade. There have been a jihadist intention. Let the Nigerian nation be courageous enough to admit that fact. How did this crisis started? The latest version, the Maitasin of the 1980s were there. What was the movement? In the far north, some persons wanted an establishment of the Sharia system of administration. Bring it back to the 1990s, when Obasanjo came into power after 1999, we had the introduction of Sharia law and all of that. And subsequently, you had Muhammad, who started the Boko Haram movement in Maduguri. And when the Boko Haram movement started, in Maduguri, Yobe, Aziz, Christians were targeted. Christians were targeted. It subsequently culminated into recurrent attacks in the plateau. Remember that Plateau suffered huge loss between 2001 and 2002, which eventually led to a declaration of state of emergency in Plateau and the suspension of the then governor of Plateau State, Joshua Dariye. And in the whole of this, Christians are being targeted. Why would anybody say there is no genocide against Christians? At every point in time, those who go on the offensive are who? The headers, the Fulani militias, the headers, the bandits, the Boko Haram, and which religion do they profess? Your guess is as good as mine. There have never been a time that Christians who've been on the offensive, even if there have been a reprisal attack, at best it is reprisal.
Well, clerics, Islamic clerics have come out to say that all of these people that are professing to be Islam are not actually Islams. That Islam in itself, in generality, preaches peace across board. So you want to quickly toe that path, and let's get you react in that line.
I think the Nigerian nation should find the courage to tell itself the truth. Let's bring it home now. You and I who've been in this country, and I want to believe that as a media person you follow the event closely. Between 2023 and 2025, you and I are witnesses to activities of the very revered Islamic scholar Sheikh Gumi and his likes, who have been trying to mediate between militants, jihadists, and the state. And what does that tell you? That somehow, the leadership of Islam in Nigeria is cutting the source of insecurity. There have never been a time
Allegedly.
Allegedly, I agreed. I should. There have never been a time that there is an organized use of force by Christians or Christian organizations against any set of persons.
All right.
So it goes without saying that there is an organized genocide against Christians in Nigeria. Go to the Plateau, go to Benue, go to Riyom, go to Mangu, look at Barikin Ladi, go to Yelwata, look at Southern Kaduna. In recent times, we are all witnesses to what Southern Kaduna have gone through. It took the intervention and the coming in of the retired General C.G. Musa to restore sanity to the Southern Kaduna plain. So the story is the same. Christians have been massacred in their numbers without protection. And that is where American intervention in this respect is very key and apt. No Nigerian, no peace-loving and sane Nigerian should see what Donald Trump has done and said as a declaration of war against Nigeria. He is only saying your Nigerian nation has failed to protect its citizens. America has a duty under international convention to protect people's freedom to religion. That is what Donald Trump has said. And there is a caveat there. He said, if you don't take steps to protect Christians and lives, America will be forced under its international obligation to intervene. It is not a declaration of war.
All right. Let's come back to Nick Agule. Nick, the social media has again gone agog. When we look at the situation playing out in the social media, we've seen the likes of Sheikh Gumi coming out to speak on this issue. We've also taken perspective from the likes of the Murik have come out to speak, and a lot of Nigerians right now are coming out to speak against the decision by Donald Trump in all of this. Is this a deliberate attempt by Donald Trump to further divide Nigeria along religious line?
I don't think it's any attempt to divide Nigerians along.
Because there have been
religious
speculations that says that Donald Trump, this is an attempt by Donald Trump to further divide Nigeria in order for the American to come into the scene and exploit Nigeria, because all the countries American have ever invaded, they left those countries in a state of near comatose. In the situation like this, can we say it's a deliberate attempt for American to further divide us along religious line, then come in to take our mineral resources?
Yeah, so a lot of people can bring up all sorts of conspiracy theories about the intention of America. We don't know the intention of America until that intention is expressed. And so let me put some more facts on the table. So number one, America is not coming to wage a religious war in Nigeria. America says they are coming to tackle those who are killing Christians. And those who are killing Christians, already we have got the news that they have started to troop out of the country, to the extent that our neighbors, Niger, has already locked their borders. And I hear that Cameroon is also either locking their borders or they want to lock their borders. Because the people that America is coming to attack, they know themselves, They know that the party is over. It is not the Nigerian military that keeps romancing with them, keeps giving them amnesty, keeps calling them to meetings where they can come with their guns and RPGs and nothing will happen to them. They know that it's not the Nigerian military that they can kidnap Nigerians and keep them in one forest for years and nothing will happen to them. They know that the American soldiers will come and kill them all. And because of that, they started to flee, necessitating our neighbors locking their borders. So anybody that says American troops are coming to kill the bandits and terrorists that are killing us is going to instigate a religious war. I think they are either ignorant or they are out on a mischief, or they are speaking politically. Again, let me also say one thing. In the other countries where America comes in and things went south, that is where America came in and removed the leadership of the country. So if you look at the likes of Libya, Afghanistan, and Sudan, they went there and they removed the leadership of the country and they tried to do things like that. The scenario in Nigeria is different. America recognizes that Nigeria has a constituted government. They haven't said they are coming to remove a government. They say they are coming to attack the bandits and terrorists in the same way that they came and attacked the bandits that took an American hostage. When they came and attacked that the bandits that took an American hostage and they took the American back home, did that cause religious crisis in Nigeria? And then the people who are talking about mineral resources, do we the ordinary Nigerians, do we even know if we have mineral resources? The mineral resources of this country are being extracted by a few people who are doing banditry on our national treasury. We forget that we have bandits that are raiding our national treasury. The other day they said NNPC official, one man, he had one house in the US, $2.5 million. That man. The other man in Central Bank that day, the governor, is not the man that has 700 houses, duplexes in one place. This is banditry on our national treasury coming from those mineral resources. So what I'm talking about, people are dying. The Nigerian military is speaking grammar, doing nothing about it. And if somebody says, I'm coming to stop the killings, why are we having a problem with that?
The three economic alleged bandits. In this, no court of competent jurisdiction has been able to pass judgment in that regard, Nick. But then let's look at this issue again, Barrister. There have been speculations also on the social media platforms that says that American invading Nigeria is definitely going to further demarket Nigeria and further throw the sovereignty of Nigeria into the bin. But when you look at it critically and from the position of law, as a sovereign state, is America supposed to invade Nigeria? Or is America not supposed to perhaps prefer some form of a mechanism or solution in order to address Nigerian issue as against invading the country, or even promising to posing some form of threat to the country?
Thank you so very much, Mr. Sunday, for this very all-important question. Now, let's get something very clear. When does invasion of a state or a nation takes place? Invasion takes place where two sovereign states are at war or are having disagreements. That is not the situation here. The situation here is this. The American state recognized the sovereignty of the Nigerian nation. The American state respects the sovereignty of the Nigerian nation, but it also appreciates the fact that as a sovereign nation, the Nigerian nation is failing to live up to its very cardinal responsibility. And yet the American state is saying, we will assist you in living up to your responsibility. How does that translate into an invasion?
But that's infringement. You've infringed into Nigerian sovereignty as a state.
There you go.
The power of a state to make and enforce law within its borders. Should American even talk about invasion for the first instance?
In the first place, I want to emphasize the fact that it is not an invasion. There is no threat of invasion. Rather, there is a threat of intervention. And what is an intervention? When a particular situation is in their need of assistance under international humanitarian
But who is
law.
supposed to call for the assistance? The government or the people? At this point in time, well, the government have not, Nigerian government have not said they are not on top of the situation.
From all available records, the Nigerian government is complicit in this very act. That is what America is saying. And America is saying, if you don't rise to the occasion and take decisive step, we will, under international instrument, intervene. It is by no means a threat of invasion. It is a threat of intervention. And like Mr. Aglu Nick just said a while ago, America had intervened in the Nigerian situation before now. I remember vividly when there was a kidnap of an American citizen in Madugri, Mamalari, around the Dew Oasis. There was a kidnap of an American citizen, and it was obvious that the Nigerian state couldn't do the needful. The American nation planned and executed his rescue, and he was rescued without recourse, without any form of recourse to the Nigerian state and her security apparatus. That is what the American nation is saying. But like you asked, it has a lot of implications for the Nigerian nation. The implications are diplomatic, economical, reputational, because if a sovereign state would have to intervene in your own country, it means you have failed as a nation to live up to your responsibility. And again, it is an establishment of the fact that there is general insecurity in your country. And you know, no foreign investor, no serious investor would want to put his money in a place where there is insecurity. So it has a lot of implications for the Nigerian nation.
Nick Agule, let's come to you quickly. Nigerian borders, Nigerian countries are surrounding Nigerians right now. Nigeria are shutting down their borders. Take Chad, for example. They said some of the fleeing bandits will want to find their way into this country, and as such, they are already mounting troops at their borders in order to prevent any of these moves. Understand also that Nigeria are also at the verge of all of this. Cameroon will not hold back in protecting its borders from fleeing bandits. But looking at this in general, what does this speak about our sisters and surrounding countries around Nigeria? Is it that they are not, one would think at this point that these countries should be able to further reinforce from their own end to ensure that no fleeing Boko Haram or bandits is able to gain access to their border, at the same time push them back to being arrested to face the law in Nigeria. But in a case of this magnitude, where rather they are shutting down their border, what does this speak about our diplomatic ties with other sister countries in Africa, especially in West Africa?
So before I talk about the diplomatic aspect of what is happening, let us be very honest with ourselves. The fact that the fear of American soldiers on Nigerian soil running after these bandits and terrorists have made them to start fleeing Nigerian territory is an indictment on the entire military of Nigeria. It means the military of Nigeria is ineffective, is totally not there. I mean, these guys knew the military were there, but they were totally bulldogs that had no bite. That is why they stayed comfortably. They stayed comfortably on Nigerian soil, knowing that we have a military that will do them nothing. It is now that they know that a proper military, the one that will take no nonsense, that will come after them and kill them all, is coming. They started to run. Why did they not have that fear of the Nigerian military? A Nigerian military that is led by a 4-star general. The bandits didn't fear them. Terrorists didn't fear them. So I think that is something that the military hierarchy of Nigeria should think about. They need to think about that.
Nigerian military architecture would disagree with that submission, Mr. Nick. They will say of course, they've been able to condone the situation and ensure that they've brought lasting peace to a lot of communities, even within the northeastern part of Nigeria.
It is the grammar they have been speaking. That is the grammar. We have been hearing grammar. The immediate past chief of defense staff was a grammarian. He would speak fine English, and yet the bandits were not afraid of him and his troops. They stayed put. So if the Nigerian military can disprove what I'm saying, they are free to disprove it, but you can understand that this is the reality. The reality is that the bandits did not fear them. The terrorists did not fear them until a proper military is about to come and they started fleeing. It's an indictment, and I stand by it. Let the whole world hear that I'm saying this indicts the Nigerian military. The fact that these bandits stayed comfortably until the American soldiers were to come. Now, to talk about the borders, I think what you have said is in tandem with what our neighbors are doing. Our neighbors are shutting their borders so that the bandits don't flee into their own territory. And that leaves Nigeria to deal with the issue. So if I were president of Chad or president of Cameroon, I would do the same thing. So Nigeria should have done the same thing.
So what does that speak?
Nigeria should have done the same thing because
so what does
Nigeria
that say
needed
about
to have shut her borders.
So what does that say about the diplomatic ties with Nigeria and all of our borders?
No, they are being pragmatic, because even if you go to America, Donald Trump is building a wall on the Mexican border. He doesn't want criminals to come into his country. Nigeria should have done the same, because these bandits and the terrorists, some of them are not Nigerians. They came from the Sahel, from the collapse of Libya and the war in Sudan and all of the crises in the Arab side. They are coming from there into Nigeria. And because Nigeria does not have a border, everybody is talking about sovereignty. Sovereignty means three things. You are able to have full control of your territory, you are able to have full control of your population, and you are able to have full control of your government. Nigeria does not have any of these three things.
Allegedly.
We have no control over our borders.
Well, allegedly,
anybody can stroll into Nigeria.
The immigration service will disagree with you that they are in charge of the borders.
We don't even know how many people we are in Nigeria. We don't even know. The last time Nigeria counted the census was 20 years ago next year. 20 years. So a child that was born 20 years ago is not in the records of Nigeria.
So Mr. Nick, if I get you correctly, you are saying that this is not an act of wickedness by other African countries against Nigeria, as it stands right now.
No, it's not an act of wickedness at all. Those governments are being government, protecting their people. Because the primary duty of government is to secure your people and then provide them welfare. So if you know that bandits are going to invade your territory from somewhere else, you look at us. Because Nigerian border is so porous. Anybody can come into Nigeria, can acquire Nigerian passport.
All right, Nick, let me come to you, Barrister. While you've said that Christians are being attacked in the country, Muslims, on the other hand, are saying, hey, we have mosques that have been burnt also in the north. This also affects both the Christians and the Muslim. You want to quickly react to this just before we let you go. In all of this, are we saying that Muslims are not being affected, or Donald Trump doesn't want to see the other side of the coin, knowing fully well that it's not just Christians that are being affected? Our Muslim brothers in Nigeria are also being affected in all of this. Or then, is America using this as a propaganda to create further division in Nigeria?
Okay, I would want us to look at the genesis of the insurgency and general insecurity in the country, most especially as it relates to Central Nigeria, where the issue of banditry, militia, and all of that has come to stay and has attracted these general issues now. Now, the issue is this. The insecurity, the attacks for the past 20 years, if you follow the trend very well, you will realize that the attacks were often orchestrated against innocent citizens who are predominantly Christians. Take the statistics, just a moment.
All right,
take the statistics. Go to Plateau, go to Southern Kaduna, go to Benue, go to Nasarawa. The attackers in most times are either the people that are adjudged to be the headers, militias, jihadists, Boko Harams, and all of that. But now, let me say this. These are people with radical ideology. They have this ideology that they tend to propagate, and sometimes they are tempted as a collateral damage, not as a main target, to attack mosques, to attack persons who they feel are not in tune, though they are fellow Muslims, but they are not in tune with their radical ideology. Those are collateral damages. But their main target, and if you follow the trend consistently, they have attacked churches, they have attacked Christian communities, they have killed persons, they have maimed, they have raped, they have set community ablaze, and most importantly, to confirm the genocidal intention of this attack, they have taken over communities. Are you aware that they have taken over communities and they are living and assuming authorities over communities that were hitherto occupied by persons that they have expelled from their communities? I am from Kogi State, but I have a huge population of the Tiv people from Benue State living in my village. My own family house, as I speak to you now, is being occupied by Tiv who have been expelled from their homeland in Benue State. By who? And let's situate this issue properly. Have you ever heard or seen a situation whereby Christians organize serious attacks against Muslims? Who are the people attacking those mosques you are talking about? Are they Christians? Still fellow Muslims. They are attacking those mosques because they felt that such mosques are being mourned by persons who are not disposed to their radical ideology. That is after they have finished or satisfied themselves with the attacks on Christians. So there is a genocide against the Christian population in Nigeria. And what Donald Trump is not trying to promote division, but what Donald Trump is trying to do is that if the Nigerian nation has shown credible evidence of failure to protect its citizens' population, America has a duty. I have stated it time and time again. Under international law, humanitarian law, and particularly under American International Religious Freedom Act.
But in the US, in 2 years, we should give it to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in terms of a security build-up in the country, or don't you think so? Because a lot of people will say Donald Trump coming up at this time to speak on this issue for further demarket President Bola Tinubu's administration, who has been at the forefront of championing security concerns in the country.
You know, in international diplomacy and politics is like life. Self-interest is the first law of the game. Donald Trump, as an American president, if you follow Trump's trajectory very well, you will agree with me that Trumps also have a radical disposition towards the protection of Christian rights. You can't take that away from Trump. That is why the Israeli nation is enjoying very huge support from Trump at the moment. Now, the issue with the Tinubu's administration, probably by your own rating, which is not my own assessment, may have taken steps to redress some security issues, but under his watch, the Yelwata attack took place. Under his watch, Plateau is being recurrently attacked. Under his watch, Zamfara is a no-go area. Under his watch, our roads are no longer safe. The insecurity is on the rise. Every attempt by the Nigerian government, for me, has been cosmetic. There is no commensurate result to the amount of money being propagated around that they have been channeled into security. As we speak today, there is this general feeling of insecurity in the country. And Nigerians, particularly of the Christian background, don't feel safe. In 2024, a truck driver in Gombe deliberately ran his truck through a procession of Christians in Gombe. Has he been prosecuted? Those are the indices that the international organizations and international bodies are concerned about. All of the actors who have been responsible for the massacres of persons, whether they are Christians or Muslims, have they been called to book? Have they been held accountable? Have they been prosecuted? Who among them is in jail? Even Sadiq Oguche, my namesake, who has been arrested since 2021 for the Karonyanya bombing, the trial is still on. These are signs of a failed state. America has a duty, moral, religious, political, diplomatic, and otherwise, to intervene. That is what Trump is trying to do.
Well, Barrister Salifu or Usman Ogechi, I wish we have time to delve into other conversation, but I'm missing that right now that it's time for us to go. I want to say thank you so much for finding out time to be with us here on KORERO.
It's my pleasure.
Well, we'll definitely bring you back because we're just scratching the surface of this conversation. There is a lot to talk about this whole invasion, but time will not permit us to go the far length. But once again, I want to also say thank you to Nick, also Agule, who joined us via our online presence. Well, viewers, don't forget that you can follow us and join the conversation across all our social media platforms currently showing on your screen. And you can download the Rapid TV app from your Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. My name is Godwin Sunday. Always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye for now.